In what you would call your spirit of the season, as we recognize it upon your planet, in your culture at this time, specifically, the idea of what you call your Santa Claus. We would like to express the idea of, shall we say, the origin of this idea, and the recognition that there actually, in a sense, and in a certain context, is such a being. In what you would call very ancient recognition of the archetype that exists in your collective consciousness, you will recognize that, as many of your psychologists have begun to understand, an archetypal expression, that is, a representative portion of the collective consciousness of your entire culture, or at least a large portion of it, by no means, in any way, shape, or form, means that it is imaginary, in the sense that it doesn't exist. Archetypes, though in a sense generated by the collective consciousness, do experience autonomy, do know themselves as individuated levels of consciousness, because you are made in the image of the infinite creation, and every thought you have can do nothing but help but create a real reality on some level, in some way. Many of the idea of what you call your nature spirits and other forms of archetypal presentation, mythological beings as such, are in a sense concocted and created by the combined energy of the collective consciousness of your planet, in a sense given life, given breath, given reality, given existence, because they represent a facet or a faction of the collective being that all of you together are. As such, they do, as we have said, have a type of autonomy, a type of individual experience. The idea is that this being that you have come to know in your modern-day language as Santa Claus, in perhaps the older vernacular as Sinterklaas, is really a nature spirit in that sense. And you have, in some senses, I will not mean this necessarily in a negative way, but in some senses distorted some of the original ideas, or shall we say transmuted or translated some of the original energies representative of this being into your modern contexts. In some senses having, shall we say, lost some of the original understanding of what this being was all about, but still to some degree representing the original attributes of this entity. In your understanding of the idea of Santa Claus as a gift giver, this is a more fundamental recognition of the idea of the power of that particular entity, of that nature spirit. And the idea is that it is to some degree representative of the concept of the third law. What you put out is what you get back, the idea of what many of you call the karmic balance, in that, in your modern vernacular, the idea, colloquially put, of not being nice and so getting no presents, or being good and getting favors, is a reflection of the original idea that this was, in a sense, a karmically reflective entity. In other words, it reflected exactly the idea of the energy of any particular entity or individual it encountered. So the idea of negative intention was reflected back as negative experience. Positive intention reflected back as positive experience by this being, by this nature spirit, by this archetypal facet of your collective reality. In many ways, because it is an exemplification of the idea of nature, it expresses, as many ideas of nature spirit do archetypally, many attributes found in nature, in a sense a combination or collection of many attributes found in the idea of the animal kingdom and so forth. So, for example, the idea of what you now have relegated to be the reindeer of Santa Claus is not so much the idea of reindeer pulling a sleigh, but the idea of the association to that particular animal totem, if you will, and also the recognition that the hoof prints left in the snow, in that sense, in many occasions, do not actually belong to the reindeer, but to this entity itself. For it has, in that sense, some of the attributes of the reindeer, including the idea of the hoofs, when it is taking physical form. It does not always exist in the idea of what you would call physical material form. But when it concentrates its energy, or its energy is concentrated by a collective awareness or a collective focus on the part of your people, thus giving it more chance to materialize or crystallize into a sort of solid form in your reality, it does take on the attributes of the idea of nature, including the idea of animalistic attributes from time to time. The idea also is that it exemplifies many other facets and attributes that you have, in that sense, attributed to the idea of Santa Claus. The idea of the red suit, in that sense, is actually the idea of what might be called a cloak of night. But in this sense, the idea of red is that it represents the fundamental lifeblood of the being, and the idea of the vibration of grounded reality and what might be called the root chakra of your energy system. Thus, it is a representation of something very, as you would say, earthy and fundamental in the idea of being rooted into nature, and the representation of the manifestation of gifts and abundance that are all around you in nature. That which was always there for you, always is now, and always shall be. And so on that fundamental level, the idea of the gift-giving idea of nature, represented in this particular archetypal facet or entity. So, do understand that it is actually quite possible, from time to time, when the circumstances warrant it, to actually find yourself interacting in the appropriate state with this actual entity, though you may not recognize it in the way that you have depicted it exactly in your society. You will find that it is actually, shall we say, in a sense, a changeling, a shapeshifter, in that it may present itself in a variety of ways, depending upon, again, what it is reflecting back to you, if and when it is encountered, and also representative in general of the collective, shall we say, spirit or emotional mood of the collective society, whether the whole society or a large group, as it may be occurring at any given moment. So, allow yourself to understand this being does exist, though not always in the way that you may think of it. And in that sense, it is quite possible to encounter this being when you get in touch with the idea of abundance, of nature, in its most fundamental form, in its most well-grounded and earthily rooted form. And when you allow yourself to be out in the idea of the wilderness, from time to time, when conditions are right, this entity can be manifested and can be encountered, just like many other kinds of ideas of spirit contact can manifest and can occur with regard to the natural kingdom of things, as it is representative of that portion of your collective consciousness and a reflection back to you of attributes each and every one of you individually contain.
Greetings, Bashar. Social media is used by a lot of people to stay informed about what's going on around them. But if everything is driven by synchronicity, and therefore happens exactly when it needs to in perfect timing, then there would seem to be no point in staying informed. When is social media use constructive, and when is it actually fear of missing out? Thank you. Aveo.
When synchronicity brings your attention to something in social media, then synchronicity has shown you that the timing for that awareness is correct.
Hello.
Good day.
Thank you for connecting with us, and thank you to the Bashar Communications team. Quick question. So when Darryl goes into his channeling state, he's connecting to our collective human higher mind. But somewhere there's a mask of the Essassani or of Bashar in there, right? Is that correct?
Yes, we are interacting with the collective of your world, the collective higher mind, and also his own individual higher mind, which is what he's mostly connecting to. But the higher mind of him individually is connected to the collective. So in a sense, yes.
Okay, cool. So I do have a question about maintaining trust or faith in the day-to-day experience. In that,
Maintaining, you don't have to maintain trust. You just have to choose what you're trusting in.
I see.
Trust is natural. You're always trusting something to be true. So it's about what you choose to trust in, not that you have to develop trust or maintain it. Trust is natural. If you didn't trust in something, you wouldn't have an experiential reality.
That makes sense. But I think
I
in
know.
the context of where I'm asking this is that as someone who has been following their excitement and following their passion, and although it sounds like I may have an insistence or expectation on outcome, I've always been loose with what the expectations and outcomes have been, working towards a dream. And it's been about 15 years of going towards this dream. And although I feel I'm obviously more skilled and I'm more prepared for living in that dream reality that I want to have than ever before, it still feels a bit far away. And when I consider letting go of it completely and giving up on it, there's like a sadness and an emptiness, and
Stop.
it doesn't feel right.
Stop.
Yes.
Letting go and giving up are not the same thing. Surrender is not giving up. Surrender is surrendering and letting go to the control you already have built in.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same thing. Watch your definitions. They are confusing you. And the idea is you say, well, I'm loosely having the idea of insistence. The point is to have none. Because if you understand, again, with a different definition, insistence is actually limiting what could be happening, because the way you're insisting it must happen may not be the path of least resistance for you, may not be the best way it would express itself. And I remind you, the journey is the destination. The process is the point. What you are learning, as you have admitted to doing, is the entire point and will serve you. It will serve you in the best way possible, and it may serve you in other ways other than the way you expect it should.
Mm-hmm.
So, letting go is not giving up, and therefore there is no sadness required, because letting go is allowing the way your life unfolds to be the way it needs to unfold. Because if you can stay in a positive state and get a benefit out of anything that happens, why insist on any particular thing happening? Just take the actions you are able to take in the direction of your passion and see what results. In fact, you may actually be slowing down the process with your insistence. It's like dragging an anchor behind you, putting on the brakes. Marvelous, miraculous things could be happening if you would simply take your foot off the brake with your insistence.
Right. Well, this actually parlays quite nicely to the next question I have, in that I find that I have the experience, and I'm sure others share this experience, and where I am having a great day, I'm in the zone, I'm in flow, I'm high energy, I'm going, and then something will occur, and I don't have a positive reaction to it. And
all right, let's stop right there.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? You're not following the formula. Because again, whatever's happening, there's a reason it's happening. And if you are reacting negatively to it, it's showing you still have a belief that it can't serve you. Everything can be served. Everything serves a purpose. Everything that happens is what needs to be happening. And if you choose to stay in a positive state, which is the principle in the formula that we often remind you of, all of you, if you stay in a positive state and say, well, this must be here for a reason that could serve me, but the only way you're going to receive the benefit is by staying in the positive state. Because if you react negatively, number one, it shows you haven't really changed. And number two, it shows you that you can't get a benefit out of something when you're in a negative state. So stay in a positive state. You may not understand why it's there, but you can understand it from the simplest level. Sometimes things you don't prefer, which is just an objective observation, sometimes things you don't prefer allow you to understand more clearly, by contrast, what you do prefer. And that's a positive way to use what you don't prefer. It's a positive way to stay in a positive state and allow yourself to reflect on, why is this thing happening here now? What is it showing me? What am I learning from having this experience? And again, remember, the idea is that what is happening can serve you if you let it. It'll give you a new perspective. Again, the idea of your negative reaction is the assumption that the outer reality has to change in order for you to be a different person. That's not the way it works. You have to respond differently, even if the reality still looks the same as it did before, to know that you have actually made a true change. Because if you're still reacting negatively, still reacting the same old way to something, why should reality change? You haven't. Again, you have to look at it like a reflection in a mirror. If you see your face in a mirror frowning, that frown will never turn into a smile until you do. So it's not about, well, I am going to wait until that reality, that reflection smiles first, and then I'll know I've changed. It doesn't work that way. You have to change regardless of the reflection frowning at you. And when you then truly change, the reflection has no choice but to smile back. But not because you needed to, just because you knew that smiling was your preferred state of being. You can't base the changes on the outer reality, because that isn't real. It's just a reflection to guide you as to what your state of being happens to be.
Mhm.
Make sense?
I think so. And just to really reinforce it, when I have those moments where I'm in flow and I'm going, and then there's a moment where I kind of
Yes.
have a reaction to.
Yes. The passion formula is then working. Because remember, one of the tools in the formula passion is the reflective mirror that shows you may be still holding on to a belief that's out of alignment with your passion. Therefore, staying excited about the fact that you discovered something that doesn't excite you in a belief system is part of the excitement. Because by discovering a belief within you that's out of alignment with your excitement, you now are aware of it, and that means you can change it. Would you rather it stays in your unconscious mind than never changes?
I mean, but definitely would prefer for it to change, yeah.
But you have to be aware that it's there for it to change, because you have to change it.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of discovering beliefs within you that are contrary to the vibration temporarily for a brief moment is the reflective mirror's way of showing you, hey, you still are holding on to some definition that's out of alignment with who you prefer to be. So now that I brought it to your attention, you can find out what it is, you can deal with it, you can see it's nonsensical to hold on to it, that it really doesn't serve you, and you can let it go. Isn't that exciting?
It's very exciting.
That's the way you need to look at it. That's what it means in the formula when we say stay in a positive state. Because you know it's there for a reason. And if you stay in the positive state, you'll figure out what that reason is. If you go into a negative reaction, you never will.
Mm-hmm. And I think what I'm looking to equip myself with is on the moments where I do slip into a negative reaction, and I do have that.
Temporarily.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Temporarily.
The temporary moments, I'm recalling a specific experience where, something had occurred. Someone, information came to me. I didn't like it, and then I had the reaction. So in that moment, it's a matter of just observing the beliefs and sort of questioning myself, asking, okay, so why is this reflection?
And just neutrally observe the situation. Instead of having a negative reaction, eventually, as you get used to this, you'll simply go, I wonder why that happened that way. Let me think about this. Let me look at it from another perspective. I know it's got to serve me positively somehow. And by staying in that positive state, I'll figure it out. This is an interesting challenge. I wonder why it happened that way. Let's see, let's explore, let's investigate.
Mm-hmm.
That's exciting.
It is.
All right. That's the way you look at it then, because that's the way it serves you. Otherwise, it's not what you prefer.
That was very clarifying. So,
does this serve you?
This serves me wonderfully.
Then we thank you for your interaction. Aveo.
Aveo.
Hi, Bashar. Thank you for the opportunity to ask a question. On one video show, someone asked you, what is the first thing you teach your children? And you said, unconditional love. And I wanted to ask, how? How do you teach children unconditional love? How do we teach our children? How can we teach our children and the all humanity unconditional love? Thank you.
We don't have to teach them unconditional love by anything other than being unconditionally loving to them. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't have guidance. It doesn't mean that they don't have learning. And briefly, as we have said in the past, there are a few major ways to allow human children to also experience this. It's up to the creativity and imagination and unconditional love of the teachers, the guides, and the parents, of course. But one way to start is by creating with your imagination simulations of certain scenarios that allow children to learn the consequences of their choices before they actually make those choices in what you call the real world, the outer world, the everyday world. By learning the consequences of their choices, they are trained to understand that everything is connected, everything has a consequence, and they learn to take responsibility for the choices that they make. Also teach them that they are as powerful as they need to be to attract what they need in life without having to hurt themselves or anyone else in order to do so, because they are connected to Source. They are not limited in that way, shape, or form. There is always enough for everyone. There's an abundance of everything. There's no such thing as lack, and they can always attract what they need. Not what they want, what they need. Sometimes needs and wants may coincide, but wants often come from the ego, and needs are exactly what you need to be fulfilled in life. And anything you think that they actually need to learn to survive and thrive in physical reality, it's important to teach them that lesson by adapting the lesson to their excitement so that they are eager to learn rather than attempting to diminish their excitement into the lesson. Also teach them the formula. With all of these tools, they will grow up to be creative, positive, loving adults.
We have this concept called karma. And
Yes.
So what is karma exactly?
Good question. Shall I answer?
Please.
Thank you. Number one, karma is completely self-imposed. Number two, karma and the concept of reincarnation is again an illusion. It is simultaneous incarnations in parallel realities. Thus, any concept of anything that connects one life to another, such as the concept you call karma, or if you wish, energy balancing, is simply the product of the idea of, from the present life, you decided to create energetic cross-connections, cross-links to other simultaneously existing parallel realities, because for some reason, based on the theme that you chose to explore in this life, you believe that cross-connecting energetically to those other simultaneous lives and downloading information from them, what you call memories, would serve you in the exploration of the particular theme of this life, just as those other lives are also cross-connecting to you and other lives to download information that they need to explore the themes they chose to explore by being those people in those lives that exist simultaneously with you. So karma is your decision to create a blueprint, in a sense, of connection to other life experiences going on at the same time that you believe are designed to serve the theme of the challenges you wish to explore in this life to allow you to grow as a soul and a spirit. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does that answer the question sufficiently?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bashar.
Bashar,
And good day to you.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I want to start by thanking you for all you have done and are doing.
All right, well, we thank you also for the co-creation of these interactions. Speak up.
I want to say how much of a great change my life has been because of learning information that you've passed on. I have two questions. One before I start, I understand if you're not able to answer it. And I want to, before I ask the question, I wanted to be clear that as a result of the experience, I've completely grown and changed.
All right, well, thank you for choosing to do that. Because no matter how much information we share with all of you, none of you have to take it to heart. It's up to you to decide what to incorporate within your being, and therefore any change going on is something that you have done. We are happy to provide an opportunity, but you have to make the choice to actually absorb that information, and the change happens because of you, not because of us.
You're amazing, and thank you again.
All right, if you say so.
My experience involves the energy project I was working on back in 2011.
Yes.
I thought that I would involve a friend of mine who's involved in Dr. Stephen Greer's group.
Yes.
So that I could have more people, and when it was completed, I would give it to them, and it would be a way to bring it out to the world.
Oh, all right. And?
Once I put myself on the map with being involved with that team on some incredibly hardcore, you could say, things started happening. And in the dream state, in the subconscious state.
Guys.
There were these two, I call them the two. They used to come in all the time and do incredibly gruesome, terrible things.
Such as?
I'd rather not go into detail.
Oh, all right.
They're just too terrible.
If you say so.
Worst motion picture movie stuff that you've ever seen,
Yet many people on your planet love going to horror movies.
It's terrible stuff. Maybe when I was a kid, but now I have a different respect.
Oh, all right.
Subconscious.
Very exciting.
Yeah. I learned that there was always a magnetic field associated when they would come in.
Yes. Is there a question here?
The question is, did those two originate? Did they originate from some form of technology on this planet? Were they two people sitting behind some desk somewhere?
No.
Or was this coming from who? What is the
It comes from another dimensional realm that you yourself are in touch with. And in a sense, they are giving you an opportunity to face all the different negative belief systems that are going on within your personality structure so that you can transform them and integrate them in a positive way. Understand that no matter what anyone else's intention is toward you, you always, all of you, have the opportunity to decide that only a positive effect will result for you in your life regarding any experience, because your physical reality is only the product of how you define it. And if you define it in a positive way, you'll only get a positive experience from it, no matter whether someone else has a negative intention toward you or not. That's how it works. That's physics. So get in touch with the fears that they bring up within you so that you can allow yourself to define the definitions that are causing those fears, because all emotion comes from something you believe to be true first. You can't have a feeling without defining something to be true first. Therefore, if you have a feeling of fear, it means you have a definition that is causing the fear. Find out what it is, identify it, and let it go. And then you will find that these experiences can turn around for you in a very positive and constructive way and allow you to become more self-empowered if you use it that way, all right?
Good day, Bashar.
And you good day.
So my extensive time travel hasn't been much, but I would say...
as we said, you are all time traveling all the time. That's what creates the effect called time. So you're all time travelers, whether you know it or not. That's the way you create your physical reality experience.
Gotcha. Maybe I phrased that wrong. The time traveling that I've noticed the most is when I've smoked dimethyltryptamine.
Yes.
Can you speak about how dimethyltryptamine...
And dimethyltryptamine is produced by the pineal gland naturally in your brain and is responsible for your ability to actually perceive other dimensions more clearly. This is why the idea of the dream dimension activates more DMT in your pineal gland when you are sleeping. And those active times of the production of that substance in your brain is generally between what you call your 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. hour. Thus, then, most of the interdimensional dreams will occur at that time because you are perceiving into other realities more clearly. Now, of course, you can learn to enhance this in a variety of ways, be it the utilization of the substance itself or the idea of meditation or a variety of other techniques, tools, and rituals, which we simply call permission slips. Because all tools, techniques, and rituals and objects are simply permission slips that allow you to give yourself permission to be more of who you are. Once you use a teacher, once you use a guide or a substance to allow you to understand the frequency state, the state of being that is represented by that substance, then in a sense, you actually no longer need the substance because you can simply generate that frequency state, and in acting from that frequency state can have a life that is more representative of that particular resonant level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I noticed that, in fact, in my dream states, I only had a limited experiences with the DMT, but since then, my dream states have changed.
Yes.
One such was actually yesterday when I arrived here. I took a little nap, and in my dream, I had a crazy Serbian chiropractor stick something in my face and said, "This will check your age." And
yes.
It blew air in my face, and I woke up gasping. And
yes.
Sort of the odd thing was, I looked at myself in the mirror, and
yes.
I appeared to be younger.
Yes. This is actually what you call a memory of something that has already occurred. It's just that you're now at a place where it's all right for you to remember it, and all right for you to create the effect that goes along with the recognition of that particular interaction. Because time, as we say, while it is a real experience, is still nonetheless mechanically an illusion. And therefore, how you see yourself will be how you define yourself. And if you have now been defined differently by recalling that particular experience, then you will see yourself and perceive yourself differently as well. And so will others.
Thank you.
Greetings, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
My name is Preston Nichols.
If you insist.
Yep. Author of the Montauk Project.
Speak up and be bold.
I got a question. What happened to Tabor? Tabor. Can you tune in on that, sir?
That particular nomenclature is not identified in the vocabulary of the channel. Therefore, there is no translation on our side. You see, I'm not speaking your language. I'm simply sending thoughts and using the channel as a translation device. And therefore, if there's no definition in the channel's vocabulary, it doesn't translate on this side. If you can provide a definition, it may be something we can tap into.
Okay, the function is in the supercomputer that runs this reality. It's one of the executive programs. And on the 23rd of March, it disappeared. I can only find fragments of it. Does this give you any more information, sir?
One moment. We perceive that portions of it were shifted to a parallel reality, but portions remained.
Okay, that would fit what I'm seeing.
Does that help you?
Yeah, okay, you're saying I have to look in other parallel realities for the rest of this intelligence.
In that sense, if you shift your vibration to the concept of that intelligence, it may pull you into the parallel reality in which the majority of it exists.
Yeah, because this intelligence has been very important to my work.
Then
And
perhaps
right-
it is, in a sense, luring you like a carrot or a magnet into another frequency.
Okay, I'll have to look into that. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Hello.
And to you, good day.
I just got my question answered, so I will switch. From where you're at, could you check? I have just worked out the mathematics of universes, and could you check and see how close I'm on it?
Mathematics of universes.
Yes.
Well, first of all, our civilization doesn't necessarily handle mathematics exactly the same way that yours does.
Don't worry, I don't either.
All right. We will give you our understanding of the idea of what you might call the geometry of universes.
You're
if you
right,
wish.
it is geometries.
Yes. Our expression would be what we call the prime radiant. This idea can be explained by analogy by the following illustration. Understanding, of course, that this is simply an analogous illustration.
If you could give me a picture, I'll look at it.
The picture is this. Imagine a completely infinite, empty, black void. Have you got that?
Easy.
Now, imagine a single subatomic particle in the void, and that's all there is.
Okay.
Have you got that?
No problem.
All right. Now, because there is nothing else but this single subatomic particle, no laws apply to it. If it wants to, it can move at infinite speed. Therefore, you will understand that if it can move at infinite speed, it can be anywhere and in fact can be everywhere within the entirety of the infinite void all at once. So if it traces a certain geometric crystalline-like pattern overlapping its own path again and again and again in certain ways, where it overlaps the least will be what you consider to be empty space. Where it overlaps the most will be the densification of matter. But the idea is that this creates all parallel realities, all time frames, all dimensions of experience. This one single particle appears next to itself so quickly, you think it's two particles, you think it's three particles, you think it's 4, 5, 6, a billion, a trillion, a quadrillion particles, but it's all the same particle. Every single one of you, every single one of us, every single star, every single planet, every single chair, every single tree is made of literally not the same kind of particle, literally the same one particle.
Okay. That's
In the ultimate time-sharing event.
Okay. Because you don't have to share time.
I'll say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? We would like to begin this link, this dialogue, this interaction with the following idea. We have of late been communicating to many of you the notion of techniques for learning how to really stay in the moment, live in the moment, be in the moment, as you say in your language.
For it is essential, if you really want to manifest the reality of your preference, the reality of your joy, that you learn to do so. Because only by living in the moment do you allow yourself to be capable of receiving the kind of transformation and the kind of change you say you prefer in life. The reason for this, fundamentally, basically, is because there is only now. Anytime you look, it will never be then. It will only be now. And therefore, if you are not living in the now, you are not, shall we say, present enough to receive the reflections, the gifts, the ideas that you say you prefer in your reality. If you are not at home when opportunity knocks, then it shall go unanswered. It shall go unexperienced by you. So learning to stay in the now, learning to not judge what is going on in your life, but learn to work with it in a constructive and positive way, will assist you greatly in helping you manifest or allow for the manifestation of what you say you most strongly desire in your heart of hearts that your lives can be. The idea is to understand again everything as energy, for everything is but energy in motion, emotion, and thus in that sense allowing yourself to feel, to vibrate in harmony with the idea of your joy, your excitement, your unconditional love is what will allow you to be operating on the highest frequency possible. And in operating on the highest frequency possible, you will simultaneously be allowing yourself to be the truest version, the most natural version, the most original version of yourself that you can. And in doing that, by operating on that high frequency, by functioning as your natural self, your life can unfold automatically, effortlessly, magically, miraculously, as you say. For miracles are really not the exception to the rule, they are the norm. Your reality has been created to be the exception to the norm of experiencing magic and miracles all the time. Synchronicity, or what you call strange coincidence, is really all there is. It is the way that your physical reality has of interpreting the fact that everything is connected, that everything is one. You can only experience this linearly by seeing this connected to that, this happening at the right place, the right time, just when something else very important happened, coincidentally. That's the way that your physical reality can best express the fact that everything is connected, that everything is one, that everything exists in an overall concept of eternal now. But when you experience yourself as physical beings, you bring with that experience the definition of breaking things up into time and space. And so the closest you can really get to the concept of really experiencing everything eternally now is the idea of the synchronicity, the coincidence, that right place, right time, connective feeling that lets you know that everything really is one, but you can experience that in a one after the other kind of effect in your reality. But still it can unfold very effortlessly, very magically, if you learn to stay in the now. And again, the key to that is to be in love with what's going on in your life, to be in love with yourself utterly, unconditionally, and totally, for you deserve to be. You were created in the image of the all, that is, of the infinite, and there is no reason why you should treat yourself with any less respect, or any less value, or any less deservability than the infinite has for you by creating you to begin with. If you were worthy of creation in the eyes of the infinite, why argue with that gift? Why discount that idea? Why judge yourself so harshly? Understand that when you may be misaligned with your integrity, yes. Understand when you may choose to do things that are not necessarily constructive, yes. But if you understand that you are making choices that are not representative of your preference in a beneficial way, then learn from that in a positive way and let that lesson teach you what it is you do prefer. We would simply suggest, although of course it is your life, you can do what you want, we're not here to tell you what to do, but we would simply suggest, strongly, that you take the time not to spend your time to worry that you have done something you don't want to do, spending time judging yourself for being such a bad person for having done this, or that you're doing something wrong, or that you don't get the hang of it, or one excuse or another. For in choosing to focus on that, you're only adding
more judgment, more time, more negativity to yourself, and making it more difficult for you to be able to see your beauty, your naturalness, your immediacy, your ability to stay in the moment, your ability to love yourself. It is your choice. It is up to you. All realities are valid. All experiences are valid. Even those in which you judge yourself in a negative way are valid because, again, you can learn from them. But it isn't so much, again, the idea of what happens to you. It's what you do with it, what you make of it, how you respond instead of react to it. It's learning to allow everything to serve you in a positive way, regardless of how you have been taught to think those things are supposed to be in your life, for what reason or this or that, or that they're supposed to be negative or supposed to be one thing or another. There is no supposed to be. There is only what you have been taught to label things as. And while we recognize that certainly you can know through objective observation when somebody is perpetrating a negative act, simply energetically negative in the sense that it is separational or segregative, it still does not require that you judge it in a negative way and add more negativity to it, but that you allow yourself to recognize that even though others may be intentionally negative in their actions, by remaining in the understanding of living in the moment, by remaining in the understanding that you have the choice to extract from every situation a positive result, no matter what the original intention might be, then that is all you will experience, is that positive result. And in extracting only the positive result from it, you also, coincidentally, reflect back to the best opportunity you can to the other individuals who may have been originally perpetrating negative intention, the idea of how a situation can be transformed from negative to positive by letting them see through you not a reinforcement of their negativity, but a beautiful, bright, and shining reflection of positive understanding of your strength, that everything in your life happens for a reason, and let them see that light and give them the opportunity to recognize that they also have that light within themselves and do not have to perpetrate anything negative at all in their lives in order to get what they want. For you're all already as powerful as you need to be, because you were designed that way to get whatever you want without ever having to hurt yourselves or anyone else in order to do so. It's how you were designed. You are a complete kit. Being made in the image of the Creator, as you say, means you contain everything you need to be a creator of your reality. You are missing no pieces. You have it all. It's just that by allowing yourself to experience the concept of physical reality with its definition of limitational focus, you have also learned to play the game of forgetting that you are in the image of the infinite. But that's all right too, because that's a valid way to experience yourself, and that's a valid part of the infinite, to forget that you are a part of it. But now is the time that you are, as a planet, as a species, as a civilization, remembering. You are awakening again from your deep, deep sleep of forgetfulness, and you are exploring realms of consciousness and many other new ideas that are really old ideas, but in a broader scale, in a broader sense, because you are waking up from the dream of forgetfulness into the dream of remembrance. All it takes is being in the now, living your joy, following your dreams, acting upon them, being your true self, and everything will begin to unfold in a natural and positive and creative and loving way, because it can only be a reflection of what you choose yourself to be. Remember, physical reality is but a reflection of your idea of yourself. There is nothing outside you. There is no outside. It is all inside. But it is a reflection back to you of yourself, of your state of being, of what you believe is most possible for you, or what you might fear is most possible for you. Whatever the strongest driving force, strongest emotion is, energy motion, is what the reflection will bounce back to you. Again, in the same way that we use the analogy of your glass mirror. If you look in the mirror and you see a frown on the reflection, do you reach out your hands and pull and push at the reflection in order to change it into a smile? No. You change your own face first, or you will never see a smile in the mirror. If you do not change yourself,
you will never see the change in your reality. But the soonest that you change yourself, the smallest change you make within yourself, true change, knowing change, you cannot but help but see that reflected back to you. That's how it works. This is physics, not philosophy. That's how it works. We thank you for allowing us to reflect to you this idea that you already contained, and we thank you for allowing us to function as the mirror to remind you of what you already knew. In return for the gift that you are giving to our civilization now through me, in allowing us to experience all of you, I ask at this timing, in what way may we and I be of service to you? You may begin with sharing in any way, shape, and form